For anybody I haven't met or who doesn't know me, I know it shows my name as Women Who Explore, but I am Steph Piano. I am an ambassador in Vancouver, Canada. I'm a trip host and I work on some of the partnerships for Women Who Explore. So I think half or more maybe in this group I know, maybe some I don't. So I'm excited to have Autumn Blum here. She founded Stream2Sea 10 years ago after a dive trip to Palau. And as a fellow scuba diver, I'm also very passionate about the ocean and keeping our ocean nice and safe. So diving into what reef safer means versus, reef safe is super exciting. And as someone who also spent a lot of years in the beauty and skincare industry, SPF protection, being protective of like your skin is also something I really, I'm passionate about too. So I'm so excited to hear about the, you just the conversations we were having, Linda, like the UPF shirts and clothing, and also, what you want to apply to your skin. So this is like such a great fusion of so many topics. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Autumn. And for everybody here, we are recording this, so we will have this available later should you want to come back. But this is definitely meant to be, dialogue. If you have questions, like Autumn was saying, jump in, throw them in the chat if you want to have them later. If we want to pause on anything, this is for all of us to learn some more about. So yeah, we'll make this fun. And with that, I will hand it over to you and keep quiet for now.
Sounds amazing. Thank you, Steph. Well, I will tell you the same thing. I'm really excited to chat with this group. I was excited to learn about Women Who Explore, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know you before. Came into the partnership, and I'm checking it out. You will see me on one of your trips in the near future, because having a tribe of women to go explore the world with is just incredible. So as mentioned, feel free to ask questions. A dialogue is always more fun. And I am going to share my screen. I'm going to make this Malwarebytes thing go away on my screen. Go away. All right, let's see. Share screen one, this one. There we go. All right, hopefully everybody can see the screen that has it available. If you don't, no worries. We'll be talking through. And my goal tonight is to go through, there's a lot of marketing fluff going on in the sunscreen world, and it's also becoming political. When I started Stream2Sea a little over 10 years ago now, I had no idea how political this industry is, but it really, where there's a lot of money involved, I guess there's a lot of politics too, I'm starting to learn. My name is Autumn Blum. I am a cosmetic chemist. I've been formulating natural and organic skincare for more than 20 years. And Steph as well, I didn't take care of my skin when I was younger either. I would put on the typical sunscreen that my mom would hand me. It would burn my eyes. It would make me break out. I'm like, get it away. I don't mind the tan anyway. As you get older and you learn a little bit better, we do need to be protecting our skin. It wasn't until I started making sunscreen that I actually started wearing it religiously, and I do wear it religiously now. I am an ocean advocate, technical scuba diver. I always said that breathing underwater was my superpower. When I was a little girl, my daddy was a Naui dive instructor, and my chore was he would throw a little pony bottle, a little mini scuba tank on me and say, go scrub the algae off the bottom of the pool. And of course, I loved it. That was my happy place. I am a very proud member of the Women Divers Hall of Fame. If there's any young ladies or anybody that's education driven, you don't have to be young, but if you're studying and you want to expand your dive training, we give a lot of grants and scholarships, and they just opened September 1st. So I do encourage you, go jump into Women Divers Hall of Fame and see if there's any that might intrigue you. There's a lot of funds to be given out for expanding your dive travel. I'm an entrepreneur. This is my second skincare company. My first I sold in 2009. And what do you do when you're, for the first time in your life or career, you have a little bit of disposable time and a little bit of disposable money? Well, I started diving again, and I'm traveling everywhere, and I'm diving in Palau, as you mentioned, and I'm coming up to my safety stop, and I saw this rainbow. I'm like, oh, look how beautiful. And as I get closer, I realize it's not a rainbow, but it's actually an oil slick, and it's coming from a group of snorkelers. And I get back on the boat and I grab the first bottle of sunscreen. I flip it over. I read the ingredients. At that point, I was making products for Whole Foods and the different health food stores. And I realized there wasn't a healthy consumer in the world that would think that that product would be good for their body. And here we were spreading it into this most pristine, beautiful environment. Then I look over and my boyfriend's standing on the deck and he's got like this Garnier Fructis, highly fragrant, pearlescent shampoo, suds everywhere, running right overboard. And I look down, I'm imagining Nemo down there just gasping. Well, again, first time that I really thought about how the products that I made and that, that I produced as well as put on my own body could impact not just me, but the environment as well. 18-hour flight. By the time I came home from that flight, I had written the business plan for Stream2Sea. So going back to the basics, I am an herbalist. I studied Ayurvedic medicine way back when. And I think that there's a drive to go back to our roots these days, whether it's in healthcare, skincare, and whatnot. And I think it's kind of fun to go back and look at the history of medicine. And you think about in olden times, 2000 BC, you have a toothache, you would go to the medicine man and he'd say, here, chew on this root. Fast forward, the root becomes heathen, chant this prayer. In the 1800s, the prayer becomes superstition, and they say to drink this potion. Move into the 1900s, the potion is snake oil, take a pill. Then you move into the 1950s, you've got the modern pharmaceutical revolution, pills ineffective, here, take this drug. And today we're realizing that the drugs have many side effects, and maybe what we need to do is just chew on some more roots. Not saying that the doctor is not necessary at times, but it may not, chicken soup can be pretty good too. I think many of us are starting to think similar things with the skincare and the things we put on our bodies too. Going back to basics, going back to some of the natural things that do actually work. As long as humans have been roaming the earth, we've had a sordid affair with the sun, and we've had to come up with different ways to protect ourselves. The Egyptians, they were one of the early pioneers of sunscreen. They would use rice bran and jasmine, and in a combination with mud, they'd mix it together to make this paste, and actually had an SPF of about 22, so they were doing a pretty good job. And the geisha, the geisha, Japanese geisha women, they would use a mercuric compound to protect their skin. It didn't protect them at all, but it did whiten their skin. Right, okay, so moving on. In the 1930s, I think it was 1938, there was a Swiss chemist who went mountaineering and he got horrifically sunburned. And he came back and invented something called glacial paste, which became the first zinc sunscreen, first commercial zinc sunscreen. And it was wildly popular with the mountaineers as well as the lifeguards, hence the lifeguard white nose. That was when that was born. Moving further on into the 1950s, there was a German chemist who developed a petrochemical sunscreen to protect automobile paint. That was the precursor for the modern chemical sunscreens that we have today. They marketed it as don't be a pale face, and they had that really cute little bare bottom baby that I don't think anybody could get away with marketing today, but it was a great ad campaign. And I tend to think that that petrochemical sunscreen may have been better for the car instead of your face, but that is the history of sunscreen use. Since then, dozens of other sunscreen ingredients have been brought to market. Some are still there, some have been pulled from the market. I think it's interesting when you look at disease and treatments and drugs, typically statistically, when you find a cure for a disease, the rate of disease begins to decrease. That has not happened with sunscreen. The use of sunscreen has been going up at an exponential rate, right along with the rates of skin cancer. Are they correlated? I don't know. It's not working. Why isn't it working? Maybe the ingredients aren't so good for our bodies. Maybe they're causing other issues, or maybe some of us just don't want to use them. Regardless, there is a problem in the sunscreen industry, in the sunscreen world, whether people aren't using it or they're not effective, because it's not turning the tide on people that are getting skin cancer. So with that in mind, some people will say, well, maybe I just won't wear sunscreen at all. And there's a drive to say that it's not effective and it doesn't work. And I don't think that's the right answer either. As Linda and I were discussing at the very beginning, UPF clothing, things of that nature are very effective. Skin cancer is the most common malignancy detected worldwide, and it is growing at a tremendous rate. It is anticipated that 20% of us will all get skin cancer at some point in our lifetime. Many people, especially with melanin-rich skin, some Black people will say, oh, I'm blessed. I don't have to use sunscreen. I don't get sunburned. Well, you may not be getting sunburned. However, you are still getting the UVA damaging rays. And skin cancer is affecting our melanin-rich friends at a disproportionate rate. Anybody know how Bob Marley died? Skin cancer. It's not necessarily that the darker skin is getting more skin cancer. It's just much harder to detect. So if you have beautiful dark skin, please make sure you do go to the dermatologist on a fairly regular basis because they will find it even if you don't. So skin cancer is a real thing. So then you look at it, what kind of sunscreens are there in the world? Okay, we have to wear sunscreen. Which ones are there? First off, UPF clothing. I make sunscreen, I don't make UPF clothing. I'm a firm believer, wear the rash guards, wear the long sleeves, wear the hats, apply a good sunscreen to your exposed skin. That's the best way to take care of yourself. So you've got two different types of sunscreens that are in the world today. You've got the chemical sunscreen and the mineral sunscreen. I'm a cosmetic chemist. I believe that everything is chemical, but that's the vernacular that people use. We could also say you've got the organic chemical sunscreens or the mineral sunscreens. Organic, it means organic compounds, not necessarily beautiful organic tomatoes. So the oxybenzones, avobenzones, those are all considered the chemical or the organic UV filters. They are the most common that are out there. They're the ones that many of us grew up with. They burn our eyes. They're easy to apply. They go on clear. They're inexpensive. They work inside of our body. So the FDA regulates sunscreens as drugs, right? In the United States, sunscreens are regulated as drugs. And the way that they work is about 15 to 20 minutes prior to exposure, you have to apply them to your skin where the UV absorbing chemicals soak into the fatty layers of your skin. They absorb the UV radiation and your body filters it out, right? That's the way it works. It converts UV radiation to heat, dissipates it out, does a great job protecting you from getting sunburn. The mineral sunscreens work more as a reflective shield. They do have some absorbance, but when you apply them to your skin, they work immediately. I still think you should apply them 15 minutes early so they have time to dry on your skin before getting rubbed off or sweat off, but apply them beforehand. And they work by reflecting the UV radiation away from your body. I personally like the idea of reflecting something a whole lot more than absorbing something, especially if I'm trying to protect myself from it. Mineral sunscreens are more stable than the chemical sunscreens. They don't degrade in the sun anywhere near as rapidly. So avobenzone, for example, if once it's exposed to UV light, it starts to degrade very quickly, or heat. So you've got to be very careful. If you've got a chemical sunscreen in like your beach bag, don't keep it for 2 years. You know, if that bottle's just hanging out in there, chuck it, get a new one, because it does degrade, and it does degrade pretty quickly. Some mineral sunscreen dispersions are clear zinc, but those can be very harmful to the aquatic environment. So you've got to be very careful about that. If you're buying a mineral sunscreen for the purpose of being safe for you and safe for your planet, thank you, I commend you. You want to make sure that it says non-nano on there. And then you've got the clear zinc. Some brands are marketing non-nano clear zinc, which is a marketing fallacy, in my opinion. What it is they take the nanoparticles and you use nanoparticles because it makes it less whitening. Nobody wants to be that zinc lifeguard white nose guy. So you create nanoparticles, which are really, they take this large zinc molecule and they make it really tiny, which is less, it's still reflective, but it doesn't leave that white cast. And if you want to have a non-nano clear zinc, they take these little nanoparticles and they agglomerate them together. So you've got like this big sphere of nanoparticles, so they can legally call it non-nano. But if you look at it under a scanning electron microscope, it's a whole bunch of nanoparticles mushed together in this agglomerate. So how does that agglomerate break apart? Well, ionization. Ionization on your skin, ionization in salt or in chlorine. It breaks it apart, which is why it exhibits the same aquatic toxicity that the nanoparticle ingredients do. Clear zinc, no good in my opinion. All right, so then we move on to, this is like the political side. We're starting to hear that the poor Americans are woefully unprotected because we don't have the same filters that they have over in Europe and in Korea. Well, in Europe and in Korea, sunscreens are regulated as cosmetics, not as drugs. They don't have to prove the human safety of those ingredients to bring them on the market, not at the level that you would for a new drug. So you have to prove topical irritation, eye irritancy, but cytotoxicity, endocrine disruption, long-term studies, I haven't seen any data on that whatsoever. These ingredients are being brought into our market, and I believe by this time next year, you're going to see them approved in the United States by the FDA. Is that a good thing? It's a large molecule. They are marketed, it's God, I'm a chemist and I have a hard time saying it. Bemotrizinol, nicely called tinosorb S, but it's a really large organic chemical molecule that is not supposed to penetrate into your body as well. So theoretically, it's not going to do as much harm inside your body as what some of the others have, but we still haven't seen any safety data, and I'm very skeptical until I see it. Let's see. So we'll just jump by this one. Environmental studies, human health gap. I mean, there's no published studies that I've been able to see to show the safety of these new ingredients, especially relating to endocrine disruption and long-term development studies. These studies do exist for some of the other ingredients, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. I don't think they should be on the market either, but I'm a purist. Policy push bipartisan bill is currently being discussed right now for the FDA approval to speed up the approval of these ingredients. And they're talking about basically just eliminating the need for the toxicity testing that is the reason why they haven't been approved for the last 10 years. Okay, so what is reef safe? What do we mean by reef safe? We like to say at Stream2Sea that we're reef safer or the reef safest, but what does the word reef safe really mean? My definition of it very likely is quite different from other CEOs. We have the only sunscreen in the world that's actually tested and proven safe for freshwater fish, for saltwater fish, and for coral larvae. And I think it's very important to have the testing and to share the data. And as far as I'm aware, we're the only ones that do it. So what does reef safe really mean? We say reef safer to reflect our commitment to transparency and rigorous testing. I think the consumer asking the questions makes a difference. So if you have a mineral sunscreen brand that you love, if you reach out and ask the company, hey, what is it reef safe just because it doesn't have the petrochemicals? I don't know. So when I started Stream2Sea, here's an interesting little thing. I made this beautiful product line. I was like, okay, we're going to market this to all of my divers and friends in the world that love the water. I was like, I formulated it to be safe. I should probably do some testing. Now, I was one of the original signers of the campaign for safe cosmetics. This was back in the 90s. I'm sitting in the room with Aubrey Organics and Burt's Bees and a bunch of the other pioneers in the natural products industry. We're talking about the standards that it takes. And here I am 10 years later saying, crap, I know how to make something that's not going to burn my eyes. I know how to make something that's not going to hurt a baby's skin, but how do I make something that's not going to hurt fish or coral? There's no history out there to go on. It's not like I can say, I'm not going to use these ingredients and I am going to use these and it's going to be safe. You have no idea. So I developed this beautiful little product line and I contracted with my alma mater, Eckerd College, to do some basic aquatic toxicity testing for us. And they called and I killed every single fish in the tank. It was 100% mortality with this product line that was Whole Foods, EcoCert compliant, Credo clear, 100% mortality. So first off, I cried like a little girl. Like, oh my God, what did I do? And then second, what if I hadn't done that testing? I mean, it was a hard decision to do animal testing. What if I hadn't? I'd be selling a product to you, looking you in the eye, looking you in the screen and saying this was safe without knowing. And it's important. I think more companies really need to be doing it. Or some really smart people need to develop cellular models that will replicate. They've done this for like the eye testing. You can do it in a petri dish. You don't have to burn a bunny's eyes to tell us something's going to be irritating to the eyes. I'm hoping they'll develop those type of models for coral and fish, but it doesn't exist yet. So everybody here knows the reefs and our entire blue planet really needs our protection. Single-use plastics, overpopulation, acid rain, blah, blah, blah. Our personal care choices do not need to be part of the problem. Some people will say, does it really make a difference? I mean, I'm one person, right? My sunscreen, I'm going to put it on my body. Does that make a difference for our water? Come on. The ocean's big, the planet's blue. How much change can it really make? Well, they estimate that more than 14,000 tons of sunscreen enter the U.S. reefs each year from tourism activities alone. Just from tourism activities. That's a whole lot. That number hasn't been updated in 8 years. They also know that oxybenzone, octinoxate, parabens, nano zinc are highly toxic. And then how much? So how much is actually toxic to these environments? Well, 62 parts per trillion is the amount that's been determined to prevent coral larvae from settling on a substrate or reproducing. 62 parts per trillion. That's kind of hard to visualize. So they say it's the equivalent of 1 drop in 6 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's the level of dilution that it would take for used to be the most common sunscreen ingredient to prevent coral from repopulating itself. So it does not take much. Can your change make a difference? Yeah, I really do believe that it can. A lot of these ingredients are endocrine disruptors and they bioaccumulate within our body. What do I mean by endocrine disruptors? It basically means it screws with our hormones. The same reason why, excuse me, the same reason why these ingredients harm coral and fish are the same reasons why they hurt our bodies or they potentially can cause harm. It screws with the reproductive cycle. These ingredients are in more than just sunscreens. They're used to color plastics. They're used in fabrics. They're used in BPAs, perfumes, fertilizers, and of course, our sunscreen ingredients. 13 of 29 sunscreen chemicals allowed in the United States have the ability to reduce male fertility. That's a pretty interesting statistic. That was, yeah, there's so many studies we can share on that one. There was one trial where they did, and it showed that a female rat that was exposed to benzophenones, the sunscreen ingredients. So the female rat was exposed to these while she was pregnant, and her male offspring developed with a significantly higher percentage or rate of estrogen and a significantly lower rate of testosterone throughout its life cycle. So the mother passing it through messed up the development of the male sex hormones. Pretty interesting, right? You think, can you extrapolate that to men? Maybe that's why we don't have so many Marlboro men these days. I don't know. Okay, so the UV filter's effects on the reefs, what does it do? Again, endocrine disruption, deforms the coral larvae, increases coral bleaching. Sunscreen exposure reduces the temperature at which healthy coral can bleach. So if it would normally bleach at 85 degrees, if in a populated area where there's a lot of snorkelers, it can now bleach at 82 degrees. Don't quote me on those numbers, but it reduces the rate. It makes it easier for it to bleach. Oh, this one was kind of fun. Estrogen mimics feminizes male fish. So when male fish are exposed to these ingredients, they convert to female. Screws with their hormones. And again, these ingredients are in more than just sunscreens. They're in our shampoos, our conditioners, body lotions, and all those other things that we mentioned. We have these really great little ingredient to avoid cards. You can download it from our website. You can order them. We'll give you the hard copies, but it goes through and it shows different ingredients. You can just use it as a cheat sheet. If you have a product on your shelf and you're like, they're in your cabinet, is this safe for me? Is it safe for the environment? Thinking about taking it on a trip to a sensitive area, just go through and skim. If it has any of these ingredients in it, don't bring it with you, please. You have to read your ingredient labels. You cannot trust what is on the front of a package. Cannot. You have to flip it over and read the ingredients. And it's not hard. Just skim through. So again, the sunscreen pollution is not just from tourism. When I said that that 14,000 tons was released from tourism activities, that does not take into account what you put on your body and then it runs off in the wastewater treatment. So modern wastewater treatment facilities cannot filter out the organic chemical compounds. If you put avobenzone and octinoxate, octocrylene on your skin, within 30 minutes, they're detected in your urine. They go, whether you wash it off your body or you pee it out, it goes somewhere and it doesn't get filtered out. So that's how all of that gets entered into our reef systems. In 2015, when the concern was originally raised about these ingredients doing harm, causing damage, they surveyed how much was in the waters in various locations, starting with Hawaii. And if you look over in that northwest area up there, the most popular beach on the island, they had 4,252 parts per trillion. That was sampled 3 times throughout the day. So that was an average. It wasn't just like, let's go collect water that's coming right off of a body. It was proper sampling techniques. And 4,252 parts per trillion, remembering that 62 parts per trillion was enough to prevent the reef from regenerating. So that area is completely dead. You go down to Hana where there's like massive flow and no tourists in the water. They didn't find any at all. Same thing over in the Virgin Islands. This is Trunk Bay, a very popular tourist destination for the cruise goers, and there's a lot of snorkelers in the water there. And they have 1,395 parts per billion, an order of magnitude higher. That area is dead. There's nothing living there. Where else is it found? If you hang out on the beach and you spray this aerosol toxic sunscreen all over you, it goes into the sand. The sand absorbs and bioaccumulates these ingredients. And then these beautiful little birds nest in that sand. They are detecting these chemical ingredients in extremely high concentrations in the birds and in their eggs. They're also finding them in sea turtle nests and in the sea turtle eggs, and then in the fish that we're consuming as well. So the labeling I mentioned, you cannot just trust the front of a bottle. I was in I think it was in the Virgin Islands when I took these two pictures. The first one, it says biodegradable, but you flip it over and it says octocrylene and benzophenone 3. Benzophenone 3 is another name for oxybenzone, which is now banned in the Virgin Islands. Thank you very much. Panama Jack also said reef friendly, that one there, and it's got 33% chemical UV absorbers. So again, you cannot trust what's on the front of a label. And I did mention this already, what's wrong with clear zinc? Clear zinc is known to be very toxic to aquatic life with long-lasting effects. That I'm not saying that you have to use the zinc that leaves you super white like the lifeguard. There are there's modern sophisticated formulas where you don't have to use clear zinc at all. Also, mineral sunscreens, the colored sunscreens, tinted, geez, my words, it's like almost my bedtime. The tinted sunscreens actually offer another layer of protection that's not measured, the UVC rays, helps to protect against the blue light as well. So if you're thinking about something to wear during the day, a tinted sunscreen, number one, it'll get rid of a potential white cast if there is one remaining from not using the clear toxic stuff, but it also gives an extra layer of protection. So we use something called EcoSafe zinc, and what we've done is instead of take this large particle of zinc and smush it down into nanoparticles, we've taken this large particle of zinc and we've smushed it. So it's called vapor compressed. If you look at it under that scanning electron microscope, it looks like a platelet. It's a large structure that's flat, which allows it to be non-whitening on the skin. We don't say that it's clear, but it's definitely sheer. As long as you don't over apply it, you're not going to see it on your skin at all, even if you have nice melanin-rich skin. So EcoSafe zinc, it is the only zinc in the world that I've found that has passed aquatic toxicity and aquatic safety trials. I think is also pretty cool. I go to the Sunscreen Symposium every 2 years, and you go to every single booth that is trying to sell sunscreen ingredients to us, and they all say, if they're not selling the chemical filters, they all say Reef-safe. And I go up to every one of them like, really? So why is it Reef-safe? Well, it doesn't contain the banned ingredients. Oh, so the absence of toxicity equals safe? Huh. And they think I'm a smart ass and they don't talk to me anymore. But there is one company that has done a whole range of aquatic safety testing, our EcoSafe zinc, and we love them. So let's see. Mineral sunscreen application tips. If you're new to using a mineral sunscreen, you do have to apply them differently. First off, use UPF clothing. Mineral sunscreens aren't great for full body application. They're getting better and technology is coming along. We're able to make more sophisticated formulas almost every year, but use UV clothing. And then you apply less is more. You still have to get it on. That's, if somebody says I got sunburn using a mineral sunscreen, almost always they under applied. So you've got to balance it. When you put it on, don't put a big glob in your hand and put it on your face because it will stay there. You know, with the chemical sunscreen or the stuff we grew up with, it's like Jergens body lotion. You can do this big glob. You can rub it in your hands. You can rub it on your arms, rub it on your other. I've got too much here, honey. I'm going to put it on you, right? That's how we all applied sunscreen. You cannot do that with a mineral sunscreen. You put that big old glob right here, you rub it into your face, you're going to look like Casper and you're going to hate me. So don't do that. The way that I do it, I always say when you first start applying a mineral sunscreen, do it in front of a mirror. I take a large pea size amount and I dot it all over my face. So just dot it in and then blend, right? And I'll always put a little extra on my lips, a little extra on my nose, because that's where I get burned. And then you move on. Same thing with your body. You can dot it on. Or another good way to apply it is you take that large pea size amount, rub it between your hands, warms it up and spreads it. And then you can go pat, pat, pat on your arm and rub it in, right? So the goal is not to put a big glob in one spot. You want to disperse it a little bit, and then it'll apply a whole lot better. and then reapplication. So there's two other points. One is apply early. A lot of people don't think to put on their sunscreen until they're already burned, right? Once you've been out in the sun for 2 hours and you're like, God, I really need to put some sunscreen on, you're already burned. I mean, great, put it on at that point, better late than never. But when you say that you're burned, it's probably not the sunscreen's fault. So apply early. And then the second thing is make sure that you do reapply. So every couple of hours, just put a little bit more on. All right, let's see. The next thing is SPF protection is deceptive. Everybody thinks that it's a measurement of protection. It's not. It's a measurement of time. Okay? Sun protection factor is a measurement of time. The idea is that if you can spend 10 minutes in the sun without burning and you put on an SPF 30, now theoretically you can spend 300 minutes in the sun without burning. But every single sunscreen out there tells you to reapply every 80 minutes. And it's an FDA requirement, 80 minutes. So what difference does 300 minutes make if you have to reapply every 80 minutes, right? It'd be logical to think that an SPF 100 is twice the protection of an SPF 50, but it is really less than 1%. An increase in protection for UVB, which is the burning rays. You've got the UVA rays and the UVB rays. UVA rays are usually thought of as the aging ones. Those cause a cellular change and the cellular damage in your body very quickly. The UVB rays are mostly responsible for the burning. They penetrate in and they cause your skin to burn. They also cause cellular damage as well, but you've got the aging and the burning. So the most important thing is the broad spectrum protection and reapplication. So an SPF 20 is good for most uses. Like if you're talking about just the daily wear on your face and you're not going to the beach, you're going to be in and out of the car, going to the shopping mall, whatever, a 20 is more than enough. If you're going to the beach, you're going hiking, you're doing something of that nature, an SPF 30 is enough for most people. The difference in protection between a 20 and a 30 is about 1.6%. The difference in protection between a 30 and a 50 is less than 1%. The difference in protection between the 50 and 100 is again less than 1%. So it's more about which sunscreen you're going to apply and reapply versus what level of protection you have. That makes sense? Maybe you're nodding. Okay. We have a couple of different formulas, and it's important to find the formula that works best for your skin. Whether it's mine or another brand out there, try them. Go into a store that has testers. If you don't like it, most of us have satisfaction guarantees. You buy something that you hate, call the company, they'll swap it out for you. That's usually what we do. If you call, like we have our originals, our water sport. And if you're going to be snorkeling or hang out in the water for 3 hours and you're not going to reapply very well and you really don't care, use our water sport. It's a little bit whitening on your skin. Who cares? You're going to put it on in the morning, spend 3 hours in the water. You're going to need soap and water to get it off at the end of the day. But if you're looking for a mineral sunscreen to wear when you're going shopping, it's not the one to use because you're going to look silly and you're not going to feel good about yourself. So don't buy it. The Everyday Active formula that's again our sheer formula. That one is very water resistant, very lightweight, 4 different varieties. The shimmer is an awful lot of fun. People like to tell me that I'm not a glitter girl. Well, guess what? You probably are a shimmer girl. So the shimmer, I had somebody come into my warehouse and say, Autumn, I've got this great ingredient for you. It's called Bio Glitter. It's amazing. It's sparkly. It has all the colors. It's biodegradable. And it's 98% plastic free. I'm like, 98, what? 98% plastic free? They're like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, what's the other 2%? Well, it's freaking microplastics. It's microplastics. Get out of my office. Out you go with us. Okay, so our shimmer is borosilicate. If you walk on the beach at sunset and you see the wet sand, you see all the little diamonds sparkling in the sand, that's borosilicate. It's a really fine particle, crushed sand, and it's very sparkly and it gives this really subtle, beautiful shimmer. So try it at some point. It's lovely. A tinted version, which is great for daily use, kids and everyday active. We have a patent on this formula now. It's actually patented, and it's our Wet Boost technology. It's the only mineral sunscreen in the world that gets better when wet, which means if you're sweating or swimming, you put it on, you're protected. You jump in the water after 80 minutes, you're actually 50% more protected than before you went in the water. When we got the results from the original testing, I called the lab and I'm like, dude, you guys screwed up. I'm going to pay you guys a lot of money, and you swapped the results. Typically, you expect after 80 minutes of water resistance, after 80 minutes, you lose about 50% of the protection. So if I want an SPF 30 with water resistance, I need to start out with like a 45. Well, in this case, it was the opposite. It started as a 30, and after an hour in the water, it was a 45. Like, that's pretty freaking cool, right? They said, how'd you do it? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. And we got a patent on that one, so that's fun. This is my new favorite right now. This is our SPF 40 zinc balm. It comes in a plastic-free. Speaking of plastic, we use PCR. We use 50 to 100% post-consumer recycled ocean-bound plastics for the cap as well as the tubes, because if you have to use plastic, let's give it a second chance at a new beginning. But this one's really cool because it's plastic-free. It's infinitely recyclable aluminum, and it's like this balm butter. It's a heavier material. When you first put it on, it almost feels a little bit greasy, but in about 3 minutes, it soaks right into your skin. It's an amazing moisturizer, no white cast, so if somebody over applies, it still looks great. And especially in like the drier climates or snow skiing, anything like that, your skin just soaks it right in. I'm loving this one. So it's an SPF 40 and very gentle ingredients. This one's also really good for somebody with sensitive skin. Sensitive skin should always spot test your products. No matter what it is, put a little bit on the inside of your arm. If you know you have sensitive skin, you're trying mine or trying something else, put a little bit on the inside of your arm and go about your day. If after about an hour you have no irritation, great, go ahead and put it on. Hope that makes sense. Coral care. So we're coming into our 10th year, and I'm being a little long-winded, so I'm almost done here. So coming into our 10th year, I had somebody reach out and say, hey, Autumn, you guys make the reef-safest products in the world. Could you actually make something that's reef positive? Like, could you make something that's good for coral? I'm like, I don't know, let's try. So we tried, and I'm going to share a real quick little video with you that talks about how that's going for us.
When we talk about threats to our oceans and marine life, we often forget one of the most deadly: tourists. Lawmakers passed a bill Tuesday banning sunscreens that contain two specific chemicals that are believed to cause harm to marine life and coral reefs. Every year, over 14,000 tons of sunscreen wash off us and into the sea, with over 80% of brands containing chemicals that are lethal for coral reefs. While some have removed chemicals from their sunscreens, Stream2Sea wanted to do more. So what if we turned the source of this invisible problem into the solution? Introducing Coral Care. In a world first, we partnered with leading marine and cosmetic technicians to create a sunscreen that's not only safe for coral, it actually feeds it. To a base formula that excluded all harmful ingredients and passed extensive aquatic testing, we also added a unique blend of marine nutrients proven to nourish coral and went into 6 months of coral testing. We discovered that Coral Care can boost healthy coral growth 50% more than the world's leading reef-safe sunscreens, and an incredible 21% more than Mother Nature alone. To take this initiative to the world, we also created a whole new classification. Not just SPF, but RPF, a way of identifying sunscreen that truly cares for coral, and a mark that hopefully someday all sunscreens will have to carry. At launch, with product sampling, social media activity, and global PR, we saw an incredible response.
When I first heard about Coral Care, I got really excited about how something could be changed from a negative to a positive.
Coral Care is now going global, partnering with government and tourism companies to help turn the tide on coral's future.
The world needs more concepts and products like Coral Care.
Coral Care with RPF, the little tube of sunscreen with enormous potential for change.
Nope, move on. There we go. Pretty cool, right? So yes, we were able to do it. And the way that I went about it is I reached out to every coral scientist that I know and said, what do you feed your coral? If you're doing coral outplanting, they make these little fragments as hardy and strong as they possibly can before planting them out on the reefs. So what do you feed them? Well, I ordered all these ingredients, bring them back into my lab, and half of them smelled like dead fish. So I'm like, we're not going to use those. The ones that didn't smell like dead fish, we found commercially available and appropriate for use in a pharmaceutical product, put it in, send it off for the testing, and we were all blown away by the results. This is taking off in other parts of the world a little bit faster than it is in the US, but it's starting to grow. We launched this just less than a year ago at this point. And Thailand, a lot of marine research places are taking on with it. So the images, I like to say a picture, what is it? A picture tells 1,000 words or shows 1,000 words. If you look at the control here, this is nothing at all in the water, just in the lab. That little coral fragment grew pretty significantly. You look at the one on the top side here, this was exposed to a good mineral sunscreen and it grew. I mean, there was no necrosis, there was positive growth, not as much as nothing in the water. And then you look at it exposed to coral care and we actually fed it. It actually grew 29% more. We said 21 originally. Continued trials, 29% more increase in horizontal, vertical, and wet weight. 4 different species of coral over 6 months of testing, and all had positive results. This formula has a little bit of a white cast to it. It's not horrible, but it does have a little bit. The next evolution, this is titanium dioxide is the base. I use titanium dioxide because it is the most stable of all the elements of all the UV filters out there. Zinc oxide is our next trial. The downside to titanium is it is the basis of white paint. So if you're going to have a little white cast, it's going to be from this one. But if you're hanging out in the water, definitely the thing to be using. We have current trials going on with our zinc formulas as well. And so far, so good. We'll see how it goes. We've got a couple more months left. I didn't want to go into all of the products here. Please jump on our website and check some of these things out. But the one that I thought would be great for women who explore is the Boaters and Campers leave-in conditioner and shampoo and body wash. I like to say that they are performance without compromise. There's a few products out there that are fragrance-free that are sold in like camping stores. And if you put, you might as well use like the Dr. Bronner's. I love Dr. Bronner's, but I don't want to brush my teeth with what I'm going to clean my dishes and my floor with. So I don't necessarily know that I'd brush my teeth with the Boaters and Campers shampoo and body wash, but it's great in your hair and it's not going to hurt the waters. So if you're going camping or backpacking, it's not going to do harm. And it was harder to make a shampoo to pass aquatic toxicity trials than it was a sunscreen. Promise you that. Stream2Sea, we are veteran-owned, veteran-operated, women-owned, 100% manufactured in our facility in Central Florida. So we make all of our products right here. I'm a control freak. The reason we started doing this was because I was failing aquatic toxicity trials. When we first went in, and I found out a lot of it was cross-contamination. We were using contract manufacturers, and my beautiful mineral sunscreen, when I sent it off for analytical testing, had benzophenones and parabens in it. It was trace contamination. So you know how if you buy a protein bar, it may say on the bottom of it, manufactured in a facility that contains peanuts. I really believe that our skincare should do the same. If your product is manufactured in a facility that has benzophenones in it, your product's going to have benzophenones. It's may not be enough to make a performance difference, but it was definitely enough to cause us to fail aquatic toxicity. So after realizing that, I was a manufacturer in my old life. I thought I would just use co-packers to make my life easy and go travel the world while I was developing my brand. That wasn't to be. We bought our old manufacturing facility back and we make everything right here now. So I really appreciate, look at that, 10 minutes early. I really appreciate everybody's time tonight. I hope we have lots of questions because I love the dialogue since I didn't stop in the middle of this time. Been yakking away at you. We do have a coupon code, Women Who Explore, that'll give you 10% off. It also gives the organization additional 20% contribution too that can be added to, that will be used to support your trips in this beautiful organization that I'm excited to learn more about. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and hopefully I've answered a lot of questions for you and you've learned something new tonight, but I look forward to answering anything else.
Question.
Thank you. Yeah, Linda.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay. I guess I just say, yeah, but I'm not very good at Zoom. So I actually have 3 questions. The first one, you said in your blurb, you said women owned. I get that. And then you said veteran operated. What does that mean?
So that is, my husband runs the manufacturing facility with me. And he is a 20+ year veteran. We also have 2 other veterans on the production line out there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then I happen to be gluten intolerant. Is your product gluten-free?
It is. So I will tell you, we don't have the stamp. We haven't done the testing to be gluten certified, but we don't use
Yeah.
any wheat, any oat products in our facility whatsoever. So it's
Okay.
what we say is it's formulated to be gluten-free. We're not tested
Okay.
gluten-free.
Okay. And then my final question is one of my mini sunscreens that I have in front of me. It's interesting because I literally had them ready as you were talking.
Oh.
And one of them does have nano zinc oxide. So that's the bad one, right?
Yep. I wouldn't use it. You might as well use chemical
Okay.
stuff. The other ingredient to look out for in the mineral sunscreens today is butyl salicylate. And I'll type it into the chat here. I know it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
I
I
like
haven't
to
seen
abbreviate
that.
it. Yeah, look in the inactive ingredients, you'll see it. I like to call it BS because that's exactly what it is. Butyl salicylate is BS. It is it's very similar to octocrylene in the molecular structure, but it's not recognized by the FDA as a chemical UV filter, so they don't have to declare it in the active ingredients. But it boosts up the SPF because it is a chemical ingredient. I mean, it is a SPF booster. Put it in here.
So wait, that's okay. So one of mine came, I'm name dropping, but one of mine came from Trader Joe's. It literally does not list the inactive ingredients.
What was it in a
Well,
box?
Oh, I threw the box. I recycled the box.
Yeah, if it was in a box,
It
sometimes
was.
ingredients are on the box. Usually they'll put it on the label too, but you're not totally required to.
Okay, so I want to see that in your chat. And then let's see, and then my other question is this one happens to be Badger, and it has uncoated zinc oxide. What is that?
So that is the raw zinc. And there's pros and
it goes on
cons
pretty
with that.
wide.
Yeah, so that's like the stuff that they use in diaper rash cream.
Yes.
And it's pretty heavy. So
Yes.
Bill White is the CEO or was the CEO of Badger, and we've debated this one back and forth. He's a great guy and it's a beautiful company. Raw zinc is what they wanted to use because it's the most natural, but raw zinc, when it's in a solution, releases zinc ions and acidifies the environment. So it will, when you put it in a dish, in a beaker, can't find my words tonight, if you put in a beaker with water and you put a pH meter in with it, you'll see that pH steadily decline, which is why raw zinc quite often will exhibit severe aquatic toxicity. So I'm not a fan of that, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt you though. I mean, it's really safe for our bodies, but it's not the best for the waters. Okay.
So what you put in the chat is the inactive ingredient, and why is that problematic? You said that.
So butyl salicylate, it is it's very similar to octocrylene, which is one of the ingredients that's suspected to be an endocrine disruptor. It's also an aspirin derivative, salicylate derivative, and it shouldn't be used by they say mothers, expectant mothers and children, and yet you're seeing it in children's products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very, very welcome. We have a blog that can explain it a little bit more eloquently on our website. All of the information on our website, we link to third-party studies so we're not just saying it because we don't use it. Here's the science to back it up.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Great questions, Linda. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are great questions.
Yeah.
I also dropped the link for the ingredient page, the ingredients to avoid. So that's in there too.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question?
I have a question, and sorry about the background noise. I'm trying to cook rice, which is the only thing I know how to cook. Thank you so much for the class. Oh my gosh, so much important info. I want to say I'm from Brazil, so I grew up in tropical weather, going to the beach every weekend, but I don't look my age. I'm 48, and people think I do Botox. And what I say is, no, I just been wearing sunscreen from a young age.
Right on. Right on.
No chemicals yet. But speaking of sunscreen, what are your thoughts on makeup that already comes with sunscreen? Is that just to get sales, or is that really sunscreen?
It depends. I mean, look at the ingredients in there. So some of the mineral makeups that have an SPF associated with it can be wonderful, but you have to read the ingredients. Some of them I know, some of them will have the benzophenones, the octocrylene, some of those ingredients that are endocrine disruptors, and I don't think you should be using them at all. Others are some pretty good ingredients out there. So just read them, and the tint does give some additional UV protection.
Yeah, that's usually what I have. I usually use Elta MD that's tinted, and then foundation that's also supposedly has sunscreen, but I was not paying attention to the ingredients, so now I will.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Kika.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Well, if anybody comes up with other questions, we are accessible. We have a chat on our website, and you can always get me there as well. So feel free, have questions, reach out. Otherwise, I hope to see you ladies exploring some wild tropical destination together someday.
Thank you, Autumn,
I
for
hope
the
too.
time.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Have a great
Thank you
day.
so much, Autumn.
And thank you for the discount and the money towards Women Who
Yes.
Explore. That's very cool.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Well, thanks again for having us, and
Okay.
look forward to chatting again soon.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
night.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.